my alternate theory on why nuclear energy really stopped is that it was sort of dystopian or even apocalyptic because it turned out that it was all it turned out to be very dual use. If you build nuclear power plants, it's only sort of one step away from building nuclear weapons, and it turned out to be a lot trickier to separate those two things out than it looked. And I think the signature moment was 1974 or 75 when India gets the nuclear bomb. And the U.S., I believe, had transferred the nuclear reactor technology to India. We thought they couldn't weaponize it, and then it turned out it was pretty easy to weaponize. And then sort of the geopolitical problem with nuclear power was you either, you need a double standard where we have nuclear power in the U.S., but we don't allow other countries to have nuclear power because the U.S. gets to keep its nuclear weapons. We don't let 100 other countries have nuclear weapons, and that's an extreme double standard, probably a little bit hard to justify. Or you need some kind of really effective global governance where you have a one world government that regulates all this stuff, which doesn't sound that good either. And then sort of the compromise was just to regulate it so much that maybe the nuclear plants got grandfathered in, but it became too expensive to build new ones.
Jesus.
Like even China, which is the country where they're building the most nuclear power plants, they built way less than people expected a decade ago, because they don't trust their own designs, and so they have to copy the over-safety, overprotected designs from the West, and the nuclear power costs too much money. It's cheaper to do coal.
Wow.
So if I'm not getting the numbers exactly right, but if you look at what percent of Chinese electricity was nuclear, it wasn't that high. It was like maybe 4 or 5% in 2013, 2014, and the percent hasn't gone up in 10 years because they've maybe doubled the amount of electricity they use, and maybe they doubled the nuclear, but the relative percentage is still a pretty small part of the mix because it's just more expensive when you have these over safety designed reactors. There are probably ways to build small reactors that are way cheaper, but then you still have this dual use thing. Do you create plutonium? Are there ways you can create a pathway to building more nuclear weapons?
And if there was innovation, if nuclear engineering had gotten to a point where, let's say there wasn't 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl didn't happen, do you think that it would have gotten to a much more efficient and much more effective version by now?
Well, my understanding is we have way more efficient designs. We have you can do small reactor designs, which are, you don't need this giant containment structure, so it costs much less per kilowatt hour of electricity you produce. So I think we have those designs. They're just not allowed. But then I think the problem is that if you were able to build them in all these countries all over the world, you still have this dual use problem.
Right.
And again, my alternate history of what really went wrong with nuclear power, it wasn't 3 Mile Island, it wasn't Chernobyl. That's the official story. The real story was India getting the bomb.